Time for VUC. In our 11th year, with us on our journey this year, Simwood.com. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Greenfield Tech. Go to greenfield.tech and see how they can make your tech dreams both feasible and affordable. Our conference bridge is the best you'll ever find at zipdx.com. VUC.me is hosted on Bluehost. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are provided by voxphone.com. Hey, hello everybody. This is VUC659 for August 18th, 2017. Who would have thought we'd made it this old, right? Look back at Cluecon with some great guests. Just before we get to that, I just wanted to mention one thing. If you like what you hear on the VUC, or indeed see on the VUC, you could go to VUC.me, look for the little Amazon banner that's on the right-hand side of the screen. If you are in the United States of America, that aren't that united these days, Canada, or the United Kingdom, which is also not that united these days, and click on that banner, and we will get like 10 cents or something from any purchase that you then do that day. It doesn't cost you a dime. See what I did there? 10 cents and a dime. All right, enough of this silliness. Go to VUC.me, look for the Amazon banner, and look for Michael, who you see right now. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm just going to... Michael.
Hey, so Randy, our esteemed leader, is in California, which leaves the rest of us to sort of pull together and put this on for the week or two that he's away from HQ. Well, I am now a week back from Cluecon, and Cluecon was fascinating and entertaining, and it was good to meet a great many of the people, including the Cluecon core team. I didn't know a lot of people there, so everybody I was meeting was new, except for a few. Anyhow, it was really a fantastic event, and I would encourage you to look for it next year. That said, do you have any highlights, Kathleen? And you're muted in the Hangout, so do unmute yourself. But what do you think were the highlights? I mean, I have highlights, but I was helping to stage certain aspects of it, so my highlights are maybe a little skewed.
I'm not sure. I think some of my highlights, just personally, would be the Free Cycle Challenge. We had a challenge that we sort of brought a bunch of random craft projects and little craft things, and we had a challenge where, you know, if you didn't want to code or if you just kind of wanted to hang out and tinker with some stuff, you could build a little machine that would move a ping pong ball about 10 feet across the room. And as long as it did that, you were entered into the competition. And I think we didn't anticipate how much people would enjoy that game. We had far more entrants than we expected. We had far more machines that were built than we expected. And we even had one that ended up incorporating some hardware and some software into it later. It was this really cool device where if you sent a text, it would turn on a little fan and it would blow the ping pong ball down this little ramp and kind of launch it across the room. And I thought that was just amazing because I wasn't sure people would be interested in it, but they really were, and they really liked it.
Actually, I wasn't expecting that after the event at all. And also, kudos to Abby. Abby's really magical. She's just so charismatic, and she pulled a lot of that stuff together really fantastically.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and she's got enough energy to really like sell you on some things. So it was really good. And then I would say the other highlight of it was probably the boat tour. I was excited that we got to do that this year, and we had a Thursday event for all the people that are sort of still in the city Thursday before their Friday flights or something like that. So it was cool to see so many people enjoy. Even though we did get a little bit of inclement weather for a little while, it was good to see people having fun on the last day as sort of a relaxing activity. And it's something that maybe they wouldn't have done themselves, because I don't know if a lot of people know about the boat tours in Chicago, and it's just a really neat thing to see. So you get a lot of really good pictures too. So I think those are my personal highlights anyway.
Oh, excellent. And speaking of pictures, I just received Fred's pictures, and I'll pull them down as we move along.
Yeah, can we add a word of explanation about Abby? Abby, for those of you who don't know, is actually Anthony Minnesola's daughter. And so I've known Abby since she was a teeny tiny little girl, but she's kind of grown up through the years, and all of a sudden this year she's emerged as this, as you said, Michael, charismatic, brilliant presenting type person. And I suspect that we're going to see a lot more from her in the future, Kathleen.
I think so. She's also been doing a lot of our blog posts recently. So if you haven't checked those out, you can go to freeswitch.org, click on the blog tab, and you'll get to see some of her writing and hear a little bit about sort of what we've been doing. And
yeah, and hopefully we'll see her across in Europe for Camellia World next year.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Most excellent. Well, so I'm going to hand this over to James so that I can carry on with the manipulation of these photos, because James was the one who coordinated Giovanni and Freddie. So carry away, sir.
Okay. Well, I think it's time to introduce everybody to Fred from Uganda. Meeting Fred for me was one of the highlights of Cluecon. I have a rule that I always try and go and sit next to somebody I've never ever talked to, and Fred was sitting there on the end of the table. I plunked myself down and said, "Hello, who are you?" And he introduced himself. So Fred, unmute yourself and say hello to the VUC. Where's that mute button gone? It's in there somewhere. Top. Oh, you've got it. Yep, that's it. Hello, Fred.
Hello, James. How are you?
We're very well. Introduce yourself.
My name is Fred Muteesa. I'm a VoIP engineer. I've been in VoIP for over 6 years now. I'm from Uganda. Uganda is a country that is located in eastern part of Africa. Most of you probably know Kenya. So Uganda is very close to Kenya. They border with each other. I attended Cluecon, the one that just ended a few weeks back. And it was an amazing experience, something that I'm still dreaming about, I'm still talking about, I'm still reciting. The friends I met, it was really, really incredible. I have my PowerPoint here, James, if I can show maybe a few photos. I've actually managed to upload my photos into a PowerPoint just as you were talking. So if that's okay, I can run through it.
Well, Michael, have you got them standing by, or do we want to screen share?
I have them ready. I think I can screen share, James.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I have to say, Fred, but just bouncing into you and hearing your story was one of the high spots for me, because the amount of energy and effort that you put into just getting to Chicago was truly amazing.
But I know. So
here we go.
Are you able to see it?
Yeah, do you want to go full screen with that?
All right, just a second. Can you see that?
Well, we're seeing the application.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah, we're seeing the screen view, but we want to see the presentation view.
Oh, okay, that's I'll probably keep it here. I don't know how to share the.
Yeah, it's the present button. If you go to slideshow
and turn off the option under slideshow, turn off the option for presenter view.
But anyway, we can see it. And
yeah, well,
yeah.
Maybe it is a secondary screen.
Yep.
Is it also Control P as well? I think, is it for present? I can't remember. When was the last time we used PowerPoint, eh?
I used PowerPoint.
Okay, I've turned it off. Let me try again and see.
We'll get there. Don't worry, Fred.
Can you see that?
Yeah, you're not screen sharing at the moment.
Oh, sorry.
This is what the VUC is all about. It's learning new skills. I mean, every time we do the VUC, it's slightly different. Oh, we're.
That's fine.
All right. So, is that it?
Yeah, we're not on full screen, but that'll do.
Okay, cool. So I'll just share with you my story. First of all, from the basics of getting a visa to the USA, it was really tough, because in order for you to get a visa to go into the USA, mainly when you're coming from Africa, you have to prove to the embassy that actually you're going to come back after doing whatever business you've gone to do. You won't disappear and run away and be on their streets. So in order to do that, you have to have a lot of documents talking about yourself, either whether you own a piece of land, whether you have children, whether you're married in your country. It's a lot of documents. Surprisingly, it took me time. I think when I made this,
how long did it take you from start to finish?
I made this decision to come to Cluecon last year, 2016, in the beginning. So I decided in my mind I wanted to attend this conference to meet new people and get to understand their product. So I started on the process of compiling the document, checking where my marriage certificate was, the birth certificates of my kids. I have a son and I have a daughter. I had to compile all these documents together. So by the time I applied for the visa, I had all this information with me. So I had to show them my payment receipts, my bank statements, to show them that I earn enough money that can bring me back to Uganda. So it was really a lot of information that was required. But in the end, by the time I was ready with all this information, when I went to the embassy, I set an appointment. And then surprisingly, when I reached the embassy, they didn't ask me for this document. When the gentleman saw the big file I had, he smiled and said, "I'm going to give you the visa. Come back on Friday." He didn't actually check the documents. That was, at that point, I knew this was one of the greatest decisions I've made. Probably something great is going to happen ahead. After that, I basically I set my date, I bought the ticket. I had to convince my company that I'm working for, that this conference was worth it, because I mean, a ticket price from Uganda to USA Chicago is can go up to like $2,000, between $1,000 and $2,000, depending on the time that you booked the flight. I had to convince them that it was actually worth going there and that it was important. And thank God I managed to convince them because of the work that I had started doing for them. I told them I can't go beyond this unless I meet the developers and the founders of this software. Probably they will enlighten me more. And then that was convincing enough for them to pay for me the ticket to go to Chicago. Between Uganda and Chicago, that flight, I think it's the longest flight I've ever had, because from Uganda to Amsterdam, I was on KLM. From Uganda to Amsterdam, it's over 8.5 hours. And then I had to wait at Amsterdam for 5 hours. And then from Amsterdam, join to Chicago, it's close to 7.5 hours. So the whole journey in total was around 21, 22 hours in total. It was quite long. But when I landed in Chicago, trust me, I was really tired. But when I arrived in Chicago, I think the jet lag disappeared by what I saw. It was an amazing city. I was amazed by the buildings, by the architect, by the environment itself, and the new things I was looking at. It is quite interesting when you look at how developed Chicago is compared to my country. For example, the roads can take up to some of 6, 7 cars at once in different lanes. In my country, it's still 2 cars in opposite directions. So that was something new I was seeing. I've been seeing these things in movies, but when I landed in Chicago, it was a reality. Probably I have some photos for you. Are we still together?
Yes.
Oh, great. This photo I took at Kelm, at where I was transiting.
In
That is
Amsterdam.
me in Amsterdam. I think that's the first photo I took, and to show that, to tell my wife that I'm actually in Amsterdam and I'm transiting. In Amsterdam, I found a piano at the airport. I took its photo, and then I sat and played a piece. Well, I didn't really play a piece. I won't call it a piece because personally, I cannot read music. I just listen and play. I've learned my music skills on YouTube. So I just played something out of my head. And I got some friends from Amsterdam because they were happy with what I was playing. And they were amazed. They were asking me, where are you from? Where are you heading to? Is this your first time in the US? And it was amazing. And then at Amsterdam, they had to check us again, you know, because I think when you're coming from Africa and you're going to the US, they have to really be tight on security. But when I was coming back to Uganda, no one really bothered to check me at Amsterdam. We just boarded the flight. We were checked once and we went. Now, my story at Cluecon really, it was something amazing. I would have had a lot of photos to show you regarding the ones I took for the Chicago City and the Lake Michigan, but my camera is not with me right now. But I have this photo here that I took during the conference because it took me some minutes to digest and believe that actually I've made it in this conference. So I took a few minutes of the conference, not actually concentrating on the presentations, but actually trying to settle in and take a few photos because I couldn't believe myself that I was in that conference. It was a very big achievement to me. And the people that I was seated next to, like this gentleman here, I don't know if you can see him. This is one of the gentlemen who works at Telenix, and he was one of the guys who worked with those old blue boxes. Is it blue box phones? And he had quite an amazing experience. And most of the people I interacted with at Cluecon, they were really people who knew what they were doing. They were really experienced. The presenters were so amazing. And what was so surprising that I had this idea that people who had a lot of knowledge were not that social. And to my shock, everyone at Cluecon, it was like a family. People were so happy. People were interacting with each other. People were greeting each other. People were down to earth, as that saying goes. They were really humble and friendly and helpful. They were listening to whatever you ask them. I mean, you would feel free to tell them, I've not used Freeswitch at all. I've used it before. I've interacted with people, and you would think that these people know each other for so long ago, but actually they have just met at the conference. So this is a photo I actually posted on my Facebook because I couldn't believe I've made it from Africa all the way to Chicago and meeting people of that level and caliber. It was a very big achievement to me. I made a few friends as well. I met Alawan. He's a friend from Pakistan. I'll call him a social network geek or freak. I made him my friend on Facebook, and up to now I still have friend requests from Pakistan flooding my inbox. But it was an amazing experience meeting him and talking to him. I also got an opportunity to meet Anthony. Anthony, I read about him. When I got the Freeswitch books, I read about the author of this amazing product because I tried playing with it. I checked their website. The information was really, really organized. The solutions are very clear. How to install it, it is very, very clear. I followed their instructions and installed the product on one of my computers. And when I checked out the book, I saw the author, Anthony Minesali. And in my mind, I was like, I need to meet this guy. I need to meet this guy. And thank God I met him at Cluecon. And when they told me this is Anthony, I couldn't believe how easy he was, how easy it was to talk to him. I thought he would be this kind of guy who doesn't really want to give a damn. He won't really have time for newbies like me and people have no idea what they were doing. But I was amazed how he gave me time. He talked to me. He asked me what I was doing. We even got time to play guitar together. Just think about that. We played guitar together. And to me, this was an amazing experience, because I never even ever imagined that I would be in the same room or at the same table at the same time with the guy who designed Freeswitch, playing guitar together and singing together. It was quite amazing. So up to now, like James, like I told you, I'm still thinking about everything that happened. A lot of good things happened so fast in just 1 week. I feel like the things that happened at Cluecon should have been like for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but everything happened in 1 week, and it was so amazing. I have another photo for the games that were done. I mean, Cluecon was an environment that everyone could fit in, whether you were a developer, whether you were a business person, whether you were a marketeer, whether you were a social person, and they would put your mind to test. And these were the games. The game was very simple. Design a robot that can move a ball without you touching it. And you could see people putting their minds at work. This was really, really amazing to me, because I thought, well, Cluecon is for people who are geeks in programming, who are geeks in mathematics and computing. But actually, that's not the thing. I've realized that Cluecon supports ideas. Anyone who can think out of the box, anyone who can bring an idea, the idea can be built on. These were really games. You could see people involved, and everyone was involved. If you can't code, you really had something you could do. Besides testing your mind and your capability to develop ideas, it was a lot of fun. There were awards being given for winners, and then getting involved, and there were T-shirts everywhere. I mean, and that's when I also met James at the pizza party. So I met James.
Yeah, just when you thought it was safe to have a nice pizza, you got bothered by this really strange person.
James comes in. James, I'm still thinking how it's happened that we met and we got to talk. I'm surprised how James found a chair next to me, because, I was seated there. People were talking. I'm not very social, so I wasn't really talking to anyone, and James comes in. And, James was the coordinator for the whole Cluecon conference. And I couldn't believe he actually found time to talk to me. So he comes, sits next to me, and is like, Fred, oh, what's your name? Tell me what you do. Where are you from? And that's how we started. We discussed a lot of things. I think, James, we really didn't get enough time to talk about everything we were supposed to talk about, because I think we really had a lot to talk about. It was really great meeting. I also met some people from the Asterisk community. This gentleman is David Dufet, and is one of the most active contributors in Astricon. James, am I right? I think
he kind of runs the Asterisk community, and he plays a very large part in organizing Astricon.
He's very active, because I used to, that's how I know his name. I used to see it in the developers' emails of Asterisk. But I got to meet him. I was surprised that all the people I'd never met all my life, that I'm meeting them in Chicago. And it was really an amazing experience. We also got time to interact with the piano. And this one you see right here is Josh Young, who is an amazing pianist. I'm sure he's on the panel as well tonight. So Josh played, and then we really had some good time together. Before I even forget James, I met at Cluecon, I was able to meet Allison Smith. Just imagine. I mean, this is the voice I've been hearing ever since I joined the world of telephony. Allison, it's quite amazing.
I remember I saw your face and your look of amazement when you heard her first. You turned and looked,
I was like, I know this
you
lady.
couldn't believe it. Your eyes popped out of your head.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was quite amazing. I met Allison, and I'm like, I think I know you. I already know you. And she's like, oh yes, you've heard my voice. I was like, oh, definitely, I know your voice. It was an amazing experience for me, and I'm telling people, you know what? Now I can tell people in Uganda when they do their phones, and it's like, and then they hear those voices, and I tell them I met that lady. So I think after Cluecon, I'm a step above most of the engineers in Uganda, I can say, because it was an amazing experience. I'm exposed to people that everyone would desire to meet. People have done amazing discoveries. People have done amazing work in making open source software, and I think I know the roadmap for technology, because when you meet people of high caliber and people who are involved in active development and technology, you really get new ideas. I've been thinking things, but some of the things I didn't really think they are possible. But meeting engineers at Astricon, and they show you what they have done, it is something also encouraging, because now I'm really encouraged. I know the sky is the limit to what I can achieve. James, I'm telling you, it was a very big opportunity for me.
Well, I think, Fred, that this is only the beginning for you. I'm sure that over the coming years, you are going to build some really quite amazing things. I think you're going to contribute back to the community and interact as well. So now that you know the people, there's no problem with reaching out and saying, hey, Anthony, can you help me with this? And you know that he will say yes. So
James, let me surprise you right there. I don't know when I was going to tell you this. I'm sure maybe Josh and Catherine don't even know, but I've been hired at Freeswitch.
You've been hired? Really?
Oh, yes, I have. Yes. I'm starting on Monday. Just an hour before this call.
Wow. That's incredible. So a direct result of all your hard work.
Oh man, I'm still screaming on top of my voice, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I'm looking forward to new stuff. Yeah.
That makes you the first Freeswitch employee in Africa. That is an achievement, Fred.
Oh yeah, it's a big one. I'm still trying to digest it, to believe that it's actually happening. It's crazy.
It is. Well, it just goes to show that if you're willing to take all the time and effort required to make these things happen, your rewards will arrive. And I look forward to seeing all the things that you're going to produce in the future, Fred, because I know from talking to you that you certainly have a talent and a huge amount of intelligence. So I look forward with huge amounts of enthusiasm to see what you're going to come up with, and it's going to be good. Well, good for Uganda and good for the world as well, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking forward to this, and it's all I can say is that I'm lucky.
Yeah,
I'm lucky being part of a very intelligent team.
And it's, for me, it's things like seeing people like you, Fred, turn up at Cluecon that makes it really so special and worth it. So thank you for taking all that effort.
You're welcome, James. I'm so happy as well. I hope we are still in the time, by the way. I wasn't looking at the clock.
Yeah, no, we're still within time, but I just wonder whether there's anybody else on the panel who wants to bounce the odd question or two off you whilst we got you, Fred.
Well, I would just like to say it's fantastic hearing your story, because it makes me happy that the conference, we were able to provide such a good thing for you, and that you had so much fun. So it makes it worthwhile for us on our side.
Yeah, and I have so many happy memories, like sitting between you and Seven Do from Beijing.
Oh man!
Eating Chinese frogs. Yeah, Seven was absolutely determined that we would all eat frogs, wasn't he?
Oh man, now I've not. By the way, I've not told anyone that I even sat next to a dish of frogs because everyone would freak out. I'll never try that here.
Yeah, there was a certain lack of enthusiasm for curried Kermit, I think.
Oh man, and Seven Do was really it was a delicious meal for him.
Yes,
so
it was.
You can't see the difference.
I think he got to eat rather a lot of Chinese frog legs because nobody else really wanted them. But anyway.
How is it that you've been using Freeswitch in Uganda? What are some of the projects you've worked on recently?
Well, I started with Asterisk in like six years back, and it was working as a PBX, an internal PBX. And then when I started, my company does long distance termination, so I started developing them solutions for anti-fraud. Anti-fraud, that is people who use SIM boxes, and these SIM boxes cause a lot of revenue losses to the telecom companies. So I started designing for them anti-fraud software using Asterisk from open source and all that stuff. And then I realized I had hit the wall. I really wanted something that could do more. And that's how I came across Freeswitch, because it could handle bulky calls. So I started playing with it. And by the way, something I missed telling you is that when I landed into the world of Freeswitch, it was kind of tough, I should say, because coming from the other world into this, and I was used to something else. But I was offered massive help because I wrote to Anthony on LinkedIn. When I checked the book and I saw Anthony Menisali, I checked him out on LinkedIn and I added him. So when I added him, I asked him a few questions on LinkedIn, and he responded. And to me, this was amazing. I couldn't believe that this guy responded to my LinkedIn message about about Freeswitch. It was unbelievable. So that really drove me into using the product. He sent me some links to the website, to the documentations, and how to get started with the product. I read these links and it opened my mind. So I started using Freeswitch. I've tried out many things with it from that time. I've tried the Freeswitch PBX. I think that is Fusion PBX. I've also tried playing with all the features in it, like generation of calls and all that stuff.
Okay, well, that's a really a good segue into talking with our next guest, actually. I think probably there will be a lot of people who want to come back and ask you questions, perhaps people on the conference, people on IRC. But I'll tell you what, we'll come back to you. And by the way, it's amazing that just like everybody else, you, Fred, started off with Asterisk. And I bet your first installation was Asterisk 1.4, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
It's funny, just about everybody starts off with Asterisk.
And that's when I met Allison Smith.
Yeah, and like every single Asterisk developer, you then fell madly in love with her voice and everything. Yeah. Anyway, but you've evolved now. You've moved on to the next stage of life, which is a Freeswitch developer, and now it's time to actually talk to Giovanni.
Oh yes.
So Giovanni, you had a wonderful time at Cluecon as well, didn't you?
We definitely had a beautiful time, and we enjoyed so much. And also for me, it was so funny that dinner with Seven and the frogs. So I think that we really this year get together the community more close knit, and all the events, all the night events, the evening events, all the dinners, all that was happening in the aisles, in the backstage, etc. All the people that was so involved. I mean, so just to communicate to our to the public that is following us right now, that Cluecon is half the presentation that you see on the stage, but the other half, or maybe more, is just that you really get to know all the other people, all the parts of the community. Really, you get to be in close touch with developers from all around the world that for real can give you a direct answer to your questions, and you begin to develop friendships and companionships that then last throughout the years and forms your ecosystems.
Okay, well, let's talk about your particular role within the ecosystem. Do you want to introduce what you do for Freeswitch?
Normally I take care for mostly for high-end installations, so high availability, load balancing, and those kind of big things. But apart from that, particularly this year, we announced a new book that is the third book in a series, and I can show it in the here. And but I don't see myself on the video, but maybe that's the Hangout way to work. And this book is the foundation. It covers all the aspects of Freeswitch, and let's say that this book gives you a complete autonomy into developing applications, installations, and both for your users or customers in Freeswitch. And this complete a trilogy that is composed by the cookbook and the mastering book. So let's say the cookbook is really the most basic book, the most learn by example, step by step. Then there is this new book, the Freeswitch 1.8, that gives you all the foundation, all the reference book, the book that you keep on your desk, and then you have the mastering book that introduces some advanced technique. But what I want to show is my personal choice of 3 pages from those 3 books, and I will try to share my screen, and this will be from the from the Freeswitch 1.8 book, so the new book, and this is Obi-Wan Kenobi on page 231, and that's an important thing for our public. And after this, I will go to the other one, and we'll see that on the cookbook we have those 2 little creatures that are talking one each other through the WebRTC. So we have the golden cat and the little bear. But we have another one that also I like so much, and this one, and I believe that this will be particularly known to James, and I don't know if outside of Europe this is known, but this was a kind of love in my young age, and maybe also James is interested.
George Clooney.
No, let me share it. And this the telephonist, yeah, from a UFO, from the Shadow Central Office on the command of Commander Stryker, and it was a series, a science fiction series for our young age, more or less in the 60s in UK. So it was very fancy, also kind of very sexy for that age. And I mean, at that time we had black and white television set, so we were not aware that they got purple hairs. But then we saw that in the little pictures that were distributed in albums for we kids. So we were very happy also of this discovery that the telephonist in shadow got purple hair.
I think she's on Moonbase, actually, wasn't she?
Yeah,
I remember. Anyway, one of the really good things about your book is you describe some of the new features which are new to Freeswitch 1.8. So could you just spend a couple of minutes just outlining what is new and exciting about 1.8?
Yes, we empowered so much all the aspects that are related with the multi-unit control, so the capability of mixing and intervening directly with kind of graphic effects and special effects on the video streams. So, for example, we are able to superimpose on the video both captions on the bottom, but also logos on some other part of the page. And one of the very interesting things is that we're able to do chroma key, so to have some background underimposed to your image.
And that's why Kathleen is sitting in front of a green screen, looking
exactly.
very green. But if we were running this conference on Freeswitch, her background would be a lot more interesting, I guess.
Definitely, because, for example, you can see that in action during our weekly conference, that is Wednesday at 12 Pacific time, I believe, something like. But you can check it on the internet, and you will see that it's just amazing, because you see. For example, Ken, one of our guys, that is inside a very busy office with old people that is very good looking, etc. That is some stock footage of a busy office, of a high-end office, etc. And then you will see that an introductory animation like CNN Live, that where we have a rounding globe and something else that is spinning around, and big titles that are just flashing, etc. Let's say that you can use Freeswitch conferencing like you use a high-end video editing station in real time. So you can mix and match streams, let them appear more than one stream, more than one person on the same screen, or to have the little face, the talking head of the person that is superimposed on his screen sharing, for example, PowerPoint presentation, and all this kind of trick of the trade that makes it much more productive and much more appealing our conference and our meetings. Apart from that, the book cover all the knowledge that you need to correctly implement Freeswitch and to build your application. For example, all that is related with IVR, so interactive voice menus, capability to interface your incoming calls with database backend. I mean, all that you need to use in the real world for real application that has real values. And also it's chock full of references, so you will not need to check back and forth in the internet and try to find that how to use this particular feature, because that's covered enough inside the book. So what we make almost nothing, obviously, from the book, but we made it mainly to cut all that is the time that we devote to helping answering basic questions, etc. More or less, all you need to know is in the Freeswitch books, and particularly in this last one that is called Freeswitch 1.8.
Well, I'm very unhappy that I didn't get a copy of that, but it was like a feeding frenzy around the copies of that book. In fact, the last copy of the Freeswitch manual I've got is this one, which 7Do gave me.
That's 7Do, yeah.
Yeah, it's in Chinese, which is a bit of a challenge. So
you might spend a lot of money on the book, but let me tell you, you do two things. One is you lay the foundation for a very happy user community, and on the other hand, you spare yourself having to answer the same 50 questions a million times over in IRC.
Well, I've got a question that may have been asked many times before, but I'm not sure. So I shall ask it anyway. I mean, the last time that I installed Freeswitch was just after Debian Jessie had come out. And at the time, you needed to do Masonic handshakes between libraries and juggle this, that, and the other and talk to Mr. Jerris, because otherwise it wouldn't do this or it wouldn't do that. But that got better with time. But we've moved on now. So Debian Jessie is now Debian Stretch. And we now have Ubuntu 16.04 LTS, and we'll have 18.04 fairly soon. What's the installation like on these? Is it now better than it was? Is it all from packages? Is it easier to compile? What do we do?
But I have this answer to that. Now we are about to repackage Freeswitch for Debian Stretch, but I can tell you my personal approach on that. Freeswitch is a server, and usually you use Freeswitch as the only application on a machine. So, I mean, why you want to use Freeswitch on Stretch before, it's time? Because, you will use only Freeswitch on that machine, because if you run more than one application on the same machine, you will end up having artifacts into the audio or problems with the video. I mean, a server machine that is running real-time audio and video must be the only application on that server. So
you don't recommend using a virtual machine then? You recommend using a metal box?
Definitely. That always. But if you really need more for archiving purposes or for automation purposes, I will counsel to use containers. Containers, because they are just, running on the same kernel without any indirection and without any, let's say, multiplexing of the IRQs and the timing from the kernel. And we must take care that real-time communication is just about timing, is only about timing, particularly video. Of some nanoseconds on each frame, after 2, 3, 4 seconds, keeping frames or having problems or things like that. And also, what's the need of having multiple virtual machine on the same hardware machine? That need is to maximize the usage of that machine. So, for example, it's perfect if you use a database and a web server on the same machine, because they have no problem at all with jitter or delay or unpredictability that is, let's say, under 1/10 of a second or 1/12 or 1/2 of a second. It's not a problem when we access a web page or a database query. But that is a catastrophe when it happens to real-time communication, when it happens to your video flow or your audio flow. So definitely for development, you can use, we all use virtual machines, containers, whatever it fits your laptop, etc. That's not a problem at all. But when you are serving your customers or your users, if you don't want them to lament about quality, you give them the whole of the resources of a machine. You right-size the machine. You don't use a machine that is too much powerful. But the important thing is that the kernel, the IRQs, so the timing is completely devoted only to serve Freeswitch, only to serve audio and video with the highest quality possible. Then obviously you don't take any kind of problem if you just use a little number of calls on that machine. But at that point, yes, you can do that on some VirtualBox or on a toy. But if you must ensure some level of quality with some level of throughput, definitely you want to use or the bare metal or containers. But there has been a lot of installation, particularly both in Amazon, AWS, and in private clouds. But you then must take care about. So it's not something that you just touch and forget. If you are into virtualization enough to ensure that you have a fair share of the IRQs and the timing used by your audio and video, then definitely you can also have success. But if you are not so much deep into virtualization, we counsel to go bare metal or container. But Michael Jerry also can intervene on that, because he's very in knowledge about this part.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have the Buildmeister himself, the indomitable one and only Mr. Michael Jerris. So do you want to add to that, Mike?
Sure, just a little bit of status on different platforms and what's supported currently. What we have in master right now does build on, the best I can tell, pretty much all the newer platforms. So in 1.8, you'll be able to build Stretch for sure. I haven't tried upcoming Ubuntu. Honestly, we had so many issues with strange seg faults and issues in Ubuntu due to them messing with OpenSSL and other things that I don't consider it a viable platform, just unstable. So we don't put any energy into that. From the community, they may. I believe we will have 1604 Freeswitch 1.8 packages. We do have all the dependencies done for 1604. We do have all the dependencies done for Stretch, but they are not public yet. They will be soon. So when 1.8 is out, we should have Stretch repos ready for people to start doing testing. We're still, at the moment, targeting Jesse, as that's still the platform we're all working on as our daily kind of known quantity. Eventually, we'll move all of our dev to Stretch moving forward. Freeswitch 1.6 will not support Stretch. None of the work to support things like older OpenSSL is being backported to 1.6. So newer platforms 1.6 will not work on.
Okay.
That's the state of being. All the other platforms I can think of, we didn't have any big issues for with newer stuff recently. Newer OpenSSL that all the distros picked up was the big issue, and a couple other related issues, and those are fixed in master.
Where are we with the with Pocket platforms, things like Raspberry Pi, and in particular these little babies, is the Kadas Vim? I'm really keen to put Freeswitch 1.8 onto something like this, so I can carry them around in my pocket and do impromptu dangerous demos.
There's some scripts that roughly let you build native on Pi. I haven't done any work on cross-compiling, although it's probably pretty doable, like with the Raspbian kind of approach. I think that we should get packages out for Raspbian, but this hasn't been a priority just because people who pay don't want it. So
yeah, it's a bit of a toy, isn't it?
I'll be honest, just like it's a lot of time investment, and you know, no one who is doing it commercially wants that. It's more of a toy for us. So maybe I haven't gone back and looked at OpenWRT builds recently, although I'll probably do that at some point. Nothing major has changed between 1.6 and 1.8 as far as builds, other than we now support newer as well as older OpenSSL. So, like, I know that you can successfully build packages for Raspbian. It has been done. We just don't have them running all the time. I know that you can build OpenWRT builds, a Freeswitch. There's no reason that that shouldn't still be true with what we have in master right now.
Okay. Well, I think what we're going to front ahead and we're going to try and get it running on these, and then we'll contribute back to the community the work that's gone into making it all work. But
yeah, when you hit stuff, just let me know, and I'll just push, like, as you hit the next bump, I'll just push patches into master to fix them. My preferred way is to not hack around the issues, to just have our, you know, what's in tree just build for everything. So if you're going through and hitting bumps on one, just message me online and we'll figure it out as you go.
And that is the way that the Freeswitch community works, isn't it?
I do.
Well, wonderful response. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Michael. I shall be in touch.
No problem.
And Corrado, did you have a question as well?
Oh, yes, I have a consideration from the business point of view of using bare metal hardware rather than a very large and powerful machine. Cost-wise, the total cost of ownership of owning an array of machines serving the same purpose is probably best than a very large, very powerful machine that you need to run virtual machines to the same effect. There's hardware redundancy. It's like the very old concept we are all confident and conversant of RAID disks, redundant array of inexpensive disks. We have a redundant array of inexpensive computers that we can plug in and out when we need. If they all work from the same database, probably a larger machine for the database, and a number of instances of Freeswitch running together. And probably is the same at the end of the day, total cost of ownership, that a very large machine running virtual machines for everything.
I totally agree. And by the way, my presentation on Cluecon was exactly about that. So I totally agree.
So, by the way, Giovanni, if you didn't realize, Corrado is our tame Scottish Italian.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I took the time to check it out, his profile, when I saw the Italian-sounding surname. So I had a view on his profile.
Yeah, he confuses most people because he's got his kind of hybrid Scottish-Italian accent, which fools everybody.
Yeah, I've been in this part of the world for over almost 14 years now. So yeah, the tang is there. Right.
Okay. Well, we've just reached the top of the hour, so that's our hour up. I just wonder whether there are any other questions on IRC or on ZipDX that anybody wants to throw in before we draw this to a conclusion. Can you see anything, Michael? I actually haven't got it running at the moment because
anybody on ZipDX, if you'd like to pose a question, just *6 to unmute yourself. There's a handful there.
Nothing on IRC I can see.
Yeah, whilst we're thinking about that, Kathleen, do we have the dates yet for Cluecon 2018?
We do, and there's a little bit of a twist. This year, the dates are July 23rd through the 26th of 2018. So we will be in July this year. A little bit different, a little bit interesting. So yeah, same hotel. We like the Swiss hotel, so.
Swiss hotel is brilliant, but can you explain why it's earlier?
You know, I actually don't know. I can't answer that question, but it is earlier. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I am going to go ahead now and start booking flights, because the way to get there is to plan early. And if you're Fred, that means starting 18 months beforehand. But
yes, and keep an eye out. Starting September 1st, we will be sending out special ticket deals for all the previous attendees who have joined us before. We like to try and encourage people to sign up early, but also kind of give back to the people that have come to Cluecon before. We want you to come back. We want you to join us again. And
indeed, and it has to be stressed that the sooner you sign up, the more goodies you get. Because I helped out on the first day with handing out all of the folders, and it was quite incredible the number of gizzits and goodies that the early sign-up people get. A massive folder full of raffle tickets and extra tickets for this and the other. So it really does pay to sign up early.
Yes, and we have a lot of stuff to give away. We usually get quite a number of things, so sign up early, get in.
I have to say, the array of gizzits and prizes was the most stellar I think I've ever seen. Cluecon always has been a bit of a prize-rich environment, but this year it was extra special. So you excelled yourself yet again.
And I distinctly remember you, James, lugging around 4 big lumps of engraved crystal.
Oh yes, thank goodness I managed to get rid of those. Yeah. Something we didn't mention, the dangerous demos, for a number of reasons, it ended up on day 1, which is possibly not the best time for it. And so the morning of day 1, frantic activity, woof, woof, as I was racing around convincing people that they were going to compete. We managed to get in the end, I think, something like 14 entries, which is a bit of a relief. And the winner of not 1 but 2 prizes was unbelievably none other than Anthony Minasala. And he produced this demonstration, which was just so brilliant and definitely was not working, 2 minutes before he stood up on stage and did it. We kept on slipping him back in the batting order because he was shaking his head and going, "Oh, it's not working." But then he got up last on stage and produced this absolutely brilliant demo. And I'm hoping, Michael, that we'll be able to see this up on YouTube at some time, because it was just outstanding. And the judges awarded him not 1 but 2 prizes. 1 for the best overall performance, and the other one for the Swan Prize. The Swan is for the demonstration that just appears to be effortless and just works, because that's what it was. So, and in fact, I have to say, I was so moved by the whole thing. I was almost in tears at the end. I was getting all emotional over Tony's demonstration. It's the first time that's ever happened to me.
Aww. Well, if you have, pardon me, if you have any feedback you'd like to give, and this goes out to all the attendees, I did send out a form, a quick little survey that people can fill out. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked, didn't like. Let me know what you loved, and we will use that to make next year bigger and better. So make sure.
There's so much good about Cluecon, but I think we all know we can make it better and better next year.
Yeah, of course.
More perfect, more Abby, more Kathleen as well.
Even better. I have something obtuse that I'm going to send to Brian and Anthony, just because I think it might tickle their fancy. A Chinese company has just released a surround sound microphone that does 360-degree audio for Android. And that means you'll need 4-channel video conferencing, 4-channel audio. But it then means that you'll be able to have full surround with your video conference.
Neat.
Absolutely wonderful. Can I just throw in a couple of other highlights for me? One was having Mr. Andy Smith present during the dangerous demos, wandering up and down the aisles, even though he wasn't there. He was present in robotic form, and Michael, you even wired him up with a mic so he could talk to the audience, and that was just brilliant. So thank you for that. And the other low point for me was doing an additional dangerous demo with Bayan from Flow Route, who the evening before, he was demonstrating his electronic lock picking kit. And I said, you know what, this needs to be a dangerous demo. And so we set up a dangerous demo. We're going to pull a victim from the audience and get his hotel room card and then use it to pick his lock, and then send somebody up to his room to send video of his dirty underwear and things live to the proceedings. What I didn't know was that the evening before, Bayan actually took the credentials from my room key, and even though we pulled a volunteer out for the audience and picked his key, the room that they actually went to see and video from was actually my room. So thank you for that, Bayan and Mr. Simon Woodhead, for being the video recce man, and thank you for not nicking all my bits and pieces and finding the really embarrassing bits. So
they failed to find the embarrassing bits. That's a disappointment.
Yeah, they were all in the green bag to the left of the TV, but he didn't look in there.
On the subject of being there in remote...
Oh, there he is! There's a picture.
Yeah.
There's the remote Andy.
Yeah, so I was using something called Beam, a little robot, the presence robot that you wander around with. And I missed all the emotional bits at the end of the dangerous demos, quite simply because the Beam ran out of battery. But aside from that, it held up long enough to do live interaction, which was excellent.
And the voting, the all-important dangerous demo voting.
Yeah.
Which definitely was dangerous. And it was manipulated, wasn't it, by the usual suspects?
There was an attempt so to do, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we noticed that there was the odd vote or 20 flying around there.
Or in this case, 190, but yeah.
But most of them were knocked out, weren't they?
They were all knocked out, all those, yes.
Yeah. So it's all part of the fun. Anyway, I think we're about done, aren't we? So, Michael, do you want to say anything else?
No, in fact, I'm looking forward to actually hopefully getting a look at and maybe helping to get some of the videos online, but we have to get all that material collected. So the work is not yet done for a select few. On the other hand, we did manage to stream the preponderance of the talks to Facebook.
And that was a first time, wasn't it? We managed to do that.
And that was not exactly planned. That was done in a sort of an ad hoc way, so it wasn't perhaps optimal, but it was a nice thing. And we had, I think, 8 to 12 people watching most talks, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, and I think with a little bit of preparation, the amount of post-production work that needs to be done, turning around the videos, can be minimized, so they can be released almost instantaneously if it's done right.
I got to throw a shout out before we let this go to Ken and Josh and the mic runners and the folks who help with the area where I was in. They do a pretty fine job given the scope of what's at hand and the resources available, and so I was happy to help out.
Yeah. Big shout out to Josh, because I got stuck with something and I just said, Josh, can you put up these scores on the screen? And he just kind of did it. So Josh, you're now not the newest person in Freeswitch. You're now the second newest.
So it would seem. Definitely got a lot of work ahead here.
Yeah. So if it's special thanks to all the helpers, special no thanks to the not helpers, and the not helpers were Apple with the brand new MacBook Pros with only the USB-C connectors. Those were the bane of our existence because they were very difficult to hook up to the projectors.
But you managed, didn't you?
Yeah, Ken had a trick for that, so it was good.
Yeah, I think that the whole of the AV was pretty good to start off with, but just got better as the show went on, and I think next year is going to be even more brilliant. So, anyway, I think we're about done, aren't we? Randy, are you still awake? Do you want to say anything? No, you're muted.
That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Good night,
Right.
Mrs. Landingham. Thanks, everybody. Really, we have good first-time guests and everything, so thank you all. But I'm not going to prolong this. So see you next week.
And
Okay.
Fred,